Hello, my name is Brian Friedland, and welcome to another episode of Inside the GSC. In conjunction with Mental Health Awareness Month, I am interviewing Delta State cross-country runner Emma Haley. Emma has been involved in both the GSC Student Athlete Advisory Committee and the Delta State SAC, as well as holding the role of Director of Athletic Affairs for Delta State Student Government. She will talk about the importance of breaking the stigma in mental health for athletes, her path to Delta State, and more. All right, so on another edition of Inside the GSC, today I'm joined by a very special guest, Delta State cross-country runner. She's also a part of the Delta State University Student Athlete Advisory Committee, as well as the Gulf South Conference Student Athlete Advisory Committee. If there's something out there, this student athlete has probably done it. Her name is Emma Haley. Emma, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm super excited.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to reach out before we start digging into the background a little bit. So you're all done with school now, so you're a rising senior. And how the school year go, and how are you? Have you started off-season training, or are you resting up a little bit for the fall?
Okay, so we have started season training back. The school year went so well. I am technically classified. I came in with some extra credits, so I'm technically classified as a senior. However, I
Okay.
did double major just to get the full 4 years because I really do love it. And so it went really good. Got a lot of different awards as a senior, which was really nice. And then I still get that full 4 years. So an amazing way to wrap up the school year, but then also it's been fun to get back into the training for cross country as well.
Awesome, awesome. And so we'll start digging in now. So I was wondering if you could take me a little bit through what your path to Delta State was like, and also how'd you get into running in the first place?
Yeah, okay, so running, I felt like just growing up, I was just kind of doing whatever sports, all the sports that were available. My parents were really good about not forcing me into anything and not expecting me to do anything. And so normally if I wanted to do a sport, they supported me along the way. And so I started running in middle school and did the track season. We did not have cross country in middle school. And so, kind of finishing out eighth grade year, I was asked to join the cross country team, and they started to run in the summer. So it was kind of like right after or right after eighth grade, you start doing summer workouts. And so I started with that. Our coach was just amazing. He led by example in every way, and I think that's kind of what made it fun for me. Is I knew that no matter what he was asking me to do, he was willing to put in that same amount of effort, and just created such a good team morale as well. And so I just kind of loved it. And so from there, I had a few different schools reach out. And I did a few tours, but after Delta State, that was my last one. I really loved the campus. I really loved what they had to offer. And so it kind of was just history from there, I guess.
There you go. There you go. And did you always know you wanted to run collegiately, or was it just you got good in high school and you were just like, let's see how far this goes?
Yeah, I would say exactly that. Just kind of let's see how far this goes. I definitely thought it would definitely be something different, I feel like, than to run cross country in college. But having those offers, that was a huge accomplishment for me, and I got really excited.
There you go. And it's my understanding too, you were a part of a cross-country state championship team, right, when you were in high school? So were there any lessons you were able to take away from that? And did it have a lasting impact on you that you were a part of such a winning culture from the get-go?
Yes, it absolutely did. I think it was a lot of the girls that came in and just every last bit. It wasn't okay, let's go run and we're done. Like they were putting in the effort, every aspect of school, of friendship, relationships, of the running. Like it was just so much, and I think that's really kind of what played more into that winning mentality. It wasn't just running, and that's what we were reaching for, but we were reaching for it all. And so everybody wanted to, with that team morale, everybody wanted to do better, everybody wanted to win. And so I really think that's kind of what played into that for the most part.
Gotcha. And now we'll segue a little bit into some of the extracurricular extracurriculars you've been able to do at Delta? Because I know, as we touched on at the top, you've done many things there. So you're a part of GSC Student Athlete Advisory Committee, part of Delta State Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and you're also a part of the Delta State Student Government. So can you tell me about how you got involved with those and why you wanted to get involved in those in the first place?
I think I had some just really awesome upperclassmen that encouraged me to join student government. And so I did that as a senator my first year and freshman year, and I was honored to be put on to SAC for to represent the cross country team as a freshman as well. And so those kind of put me like kind of get got my feet wet a little bit in that. And I just really, really loved it. I got to serve as vice president for my freshman year for SAC, and I realized that that was something that really wanted to commit to. And so, yeah, SAC was a huge deal. And so from there, after I was a senator freshman year, I actually got to serve both my sophomore year and junior year as director of athletic affairs. And so pretty much like there was a lot that goes into that. But what I tell people is that I just have to I get to watch you guys like go and play and all that and kind of show up and be there. And so that's kind of what I'll say if people are like, well, what's that entail? And I'm like, getting to support all of the student athletes. But that's been so much fun. It's just I think we've had so many GSC like conferences, you know, at different locations, bringing in everybody. And something across the board that we notice is like lack of involvement at student games. And so that's something as SAC that we try to rally around for athletes supporting athletes, but then also we have that opportunity to get community supporting athletes. And then as director of athletic affairs, that's more, okay, how can I get the students to enjoy the games and how can I allow those athletes to enjoy the students being there, you know? So it's kind of like this overall collective effort being able to combine those positions to get everybody at the games, which is a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I was wondering too if you could touch a little bit more on that point of just like reaching out to the community and getting them to come to games and whatnot, and what that process looks like with the different committees that you're in.
Yeah, so a big one is Delta State is very active in our community as far as like volunteer work goes. And so that's a lot of kind of a little bit of the leverage that I use there. It's just like, here, we want to support you guys and we would love in return for you guys just to kind of show up for us. And so we are making sure that all the teams are creating a different level of, or making sure that we have enough level of volunteer hours for all of our teams. And then also going and supporting when there are. So we'll have little city community games like football games, and we get to allow them to come into our university and play there or stuff like that. And the kids now, like the kids want to go to the games because they're getting to play on the big field and they want to watch the big players play on the big field too. So I think it's really just trying to just kind of a nicety. Like we get to be nice to the community and they get to be nice to us. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing that we've found that works, but also everybody benefits and everybody enjoys.
Right, for sure, for sure. It's a win-win all the way around.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
And then so now just digging into your education background a little bit. So now you're a marketing major, right? And so what's the goal there and what made you interested in marketing in the first place?
Yeah. Okay. So I also did just double major recently. So now
That's
I'm
right.
also
That's right. That's right.
yes, sir, and management. And so we started off marketing. My goal, my I had a wanted to be a pharmaceutical representative since like eighth grade. I don't know why, but that has been, you know, people are like, I want to be a vet or I want to be a doctor. And for some reason, I want to be a pharmaceutical rep. And so I kind of was talking through different sales rep, and they were just like, you know, business degree, marketing degree is going to be the best way to kind of learn how to navigate all of that. And so that's when I did that. And I think just a sales rep in general, like medical device sales, all of that, definitely interests me. But it was really just pharmaceutical rep. That's kind of what pushed me into that marketing. And then I needed a double major, and I've, you know, in different leadership positions, so that management was kind of a nice way to really identify how I lead and then also how I can lead better as well. So both have been very, very helpful in every aspect, not even in just like, okay, this is career, but this is life, you know? So I've really enjoyed it.
For sure. Plus with all the extracurriculars you're doing, it all ties in together, I feel like.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So now, obviously, so this is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we'll start digging into that a little bit and kind of breaking down what it's like from a student athlete's perspective. So I was wondering if, don't have to get too specific, but just wondering what has kind of your mental health journey been like, and have there been any lessons you've been able to take away from this journey?
Yeah, I would say I feel very fortunate in the sense that my parents have really instilled just the importance of communication, and so kind of communicate those feelings, happy or sad or mad or whatever that is. And I think being able to communicate and learn how to communicate, you also have to be aware to be able to communicate what you're feeling, you know? And so I think that that really helped me first become aware and then be able to communicate that and what I need, just as a person, you know, for my mental health. So I would say that I feel there have been many times, you know, with doubts or failures that feels like it weighs a little too heavy on me. But I would say the biggest lesson that I learned, and I think even today people don't realize, is just how much of a time commitment it is to work on that mental health. Because it's, you know, we're, as especially as student athletes, we're putting in so much time, definitely for our team and our sport, but then also for like school, for academics. And so we're putting on all of this time, and then it's like, okay, we're doing this for our physical health, but what about our mental health? And I think it gets overlooked. And for me, I personally, like, this is a daily walk, a daily battle that I use. Um I tend to find home, I guess, in the Lord. And so for me, that's a quiet time is what I call it. And so this is a daily quiet time, and sometimes you miss it. And sometimes these quiet times are an hour long, and sometimes they're 10 to 15 minutes long. But like I said, that's a daily time commitment that I commit myself to. And so while there's definitely lots of different benefits with that, you know, in different ways, for my mental health, it is very beneficial. So that's kind of a little bit of, and I can elaborate more on that too, but just kind of how what I've gone through and then how I deal with it. But yeah, I'm happy to elaborate more if you'd like.
Right, that's great. And then so and yeah, and obviously you touched on it too. It's so important having these outlets, I feel like, where I know like back in high school, like when I was dealing with stuff, like I was a runner and that helped me to get my mind off. Like I know I had a coach that was always talking about, oh, like when you're in track, try to just focus on the running part, put away all the troubles, even if it's for just an hour, just get through that. So I feel like always having those outlets kind of where you can just even if it's for 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it may be, as long as you're just able to think about something else where you're not just fixating so much on one thing for a because you have 24 hours to do that, but you know, if you
Yeah.
could just put it away for a few minutes.
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people might not realize is it's like, okay, well, I take a personal day or I do something nice once a week for myself. But like I said, like for me, this is a daily thing that I do. So now at least once a week, you know that you're gonna have like a hard time. So why not, you know, try to help yourself in that situation? So there's lots of different ways to go about it, but I think I think people underestimate just how much time that it actually takes for sure.
Sure. And I wanted to touch on too, because I know obviously as the generations get younger and younger, and I know I'm only 24 and I'm acting like I'm older than that, but either way, the social media has gotten so big, and I feel like kind of our culture has kind of turned into this whole comparison is the thief of joy type thing where you see something cool on social media and but you don't see everything. It's just the outside of it. So as a student athlete, how has that culture kind of impacted you and how important has it been, just kind of elaborating on before, how important is it with social media getting bigger to make sure that you're even more on top of your mental health than before?
Yeah, so 100%. I think there, you know, like they always say, comparison is the thief of joy. And so that is a big issue. And I think across the board, student athlete or not student athlete, social media is hard. But I do think as student athletes, we're kind of taught to be competitive. Like for the most part, if you're here, you're competitive. And so I think sometimes it's not even about comparison, which, you know, but if I'm seeing my friend, even from somebody in the GSC or somebody within my university, if I'm seeing them do this or get this award or whatever the case may be, my natural instinct is to be like, okay, I have failed, or I am not doing good enough, or I need to do better. And, and so then it's like, okay, all of my thoughts go into this. And sometimes, sometimes it's just not possible. Sometimes those successes from somebody else is not going to be your successes. And now it's kind of like you're wrapped up in this failure versus all the things that you maybe have accomplished. So social media is definitely hard to navigate no matter your circumstance. But then also as a student athlete, it's even heightened because yes, we're comparing, but also we want to win and we want to compete, So um, yeah, I think it can be very, very difficult.
For sure. And I feel like too kind of this kind of segues into my next question too, because I don't know how involved you are with the NBA or whatever. These are just the first examples that come to my mind when I think of mental health in athletes, because these were some of the only athletes I saw that were outspoken about it, which were DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love, who were very outspoken about their struggles with mental health. And kind of where I'm getting at with this is people kind of look at athletes as like these superhumans. They're like everything's going well for them. They're winning Larry O'Brien trophies, Vince Lombardi trophies, national championships, whatever. And nothing really goes wrong for them because everything on the outside seems so good. So, as a student athlete, what do you think can be better done to kind of prioritize mental health for student athletes and just looking at student athletes as humans? Because at the end of the day, that's what we all are.
Yeah, I think there, and Delta State does such a good job, in my opinion, of making sure that our mental health is taken care of. Our athletic trainers, they're there 24/7, it feels like all the time for our physical health, but ours take it a step further. We have like almost screenings of different mental health issues. And it's like an active Q&A as we're listening, and it's through sessions. But then also we technically have like almost like a class on it that kind of helps our mental health. And so I think what really to break some of those walls down is like I said, or like you said, to talk about it, to be open about it, because there's just so many reasons why student athletes struggle with mental health issues. But so that being said, like we have to talk about it. We can't just keep hiding it. Otherwise, it's just going to continue on down the generations of something that, physically we look great. Physically, we're doing great. But mentally, we're not okay. And, as a student athlete for 4 years or however many years you have a season for, um, that there's no use of any types of substance really. And so what happens when you're not a student athlete anymore and you never got to heal those? And so now it's like, maybe as a student athlete you're okay, but after the student athlete you've been taught to just bury and taught to push it aside or not to show it. And you have to let it out. You have to talk about it. You have to find help in some ways.
I feel like too, it's so difficult when it comes to mental health because it's so easy to be like, well, we got to talk about it more, right? But it's like it's not always the case. And I feel like just promoting kind of this more culture of being open and being willing to talk, it just makes people feel more safe and comfortable to be able to talk about those things. Because a lot of people, I've buried things before and just it explodes eventually, you know?
Right. 100%.
And that's kind of where I'm getting at before. How important do you think it is to be able to find support in people? Because again, it's not so easy to be able to sit there and admit, hey, something is not going right and I need to do something about it. So in your experience or in other experiences that you've seen from teammates or family members, how essential has it been or important to find support in others and be able to have that shoulder to lean on?
Yeah, I think it is very important. As I think family is a great way. That's always not always the case though, and so those close friends that are like family always going to be an awesome way to kind of confide in somebody and talk through those things, and somebody that you can trust and that will also kind of help you. Not, they might be a listening ear, which is nice, and maybe that's all you need, but also they could probably help you in some kind of way, or maybe tell you that they're feeling that way, and that helps too. I would say too, and I think it kind of plays in. I think coaches are a great way. Um, Coaches will have a hard are in a hard position just because it's like they can't necessarily support those hard days if you're not performing to the level they know you can perform to. And, they shouldn't necessarily let up because, you're upset or something like that. But at the same time, they should be there. So it's kind of a tricky way to, I couldn't imagine being in that position myself. But I think there's a lot of coaches, including mine, who are super, super happy to talk through different things like that, and then also help alongside those ways, check up on you like daily, recently, whatever, just so that they can make sure that you're mentally healthy just as you are physically healthy.
Sure, for sure. And even talking about it too, throughout this interview, we've touched on all the things you've gotten to do, and it can be mentally taxing sometimes. So how do you with all that you have going on, how do you maintain a good work-life balance? Because you're doing student government, which, is more, it takes a lot more time than I figured it would, where it's like, you're going out in the community and doing stuff. You're doing GSC SAC, you're doing Delta State SAC, and then you're also running, even if it's only for the fall or whatever it may be, you still have to train and everything. So how do you maintain a good work-life balance and just try to, relax a little bit at some point?
Yes, I think, and it's crazy because I wish that it kind of stopped there, but there's actually more to that. Like I do take a little part-time job as well, and then there's other organizations that I'm a part of. So people come up and be like, "Oh, you're the busiest person I know," and I'm like, "Yeah, I feel that way sometimes." And so I think it is kind of, if you've noticed a little bit, maybe even in this interview, I tend to be very ADHD. So sometimes I stray away from a question or an answer, and like that's kind of how my mind is all the time. Is it's just ping ponging back and forth. I feel like, and so some of that busyness helps me keep busy, helps me keep focused. So it's like almost the more that's on my schedule, the more focused I'm going to be because I have more things to balance and all the things. And so, and that's my personality. I'm also such a people person that it makes it more enjoyable when I get to do it with people. However, there are so like after every semester, I feel like I'm barely making it genuinely. Like the kind of that downside of that is just coming to the end or the season. So, we get to with cross country and track, you get to end a little bit sooner before. So baseball keeps going after classes, but we normally end before classes are officially over. And so we kind of have that minute. So when the semester's over, I'm burned out, and when the season's over, I feel burned out in that aspect too. And so it's great. However, I have to be very cautious of how, like I said, how I'm feeling, being self-aware, to where I'm not burning out before, or hopefully so I can continue to do it as well and as hard as I can, to be the best that I can, in every aspect of the game academically. And those are my top priorities for sure. So if any of those two slip, then I know something has to go. And so I think keeping the priorities straight is a great way to manage that, first of all. But then second of all is just kind of checking in at where you are. That's like I said, I do this daily, and then with that, it's kind of just, okay, where am I? How do I feel? If there's something that is not right, then I know I need to take a step back. I don't have to commit to everything like I think I do. So I think keeping the priorities and then just making sure that you're not overcommitting to something, to where it's going to take away from anything else.
For sure, but at least you're able to recognize it to the point where it's like, okay, if I'm getting too burned out here, I have to change something up. It's because I think people like you can't keep doing something over and over again expecting the same result. So if something's not working, you adapt and you fix it. So that's great. And so just have one last question as regarding to mental health. I know that as we touched on before, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I was wondering why is it important that we continue to recognize this month and kind of just keep bringing awareness and trying to break down the stigma in student athletes?
Yeah, I think I actually really enjoy mental health awareness. The month itself, like I said, at Delta State, I really take a lot of that from Delta State because this isn't something that I felt like was super pushed in high school or in lower levels than that. And so coming into this, it was kind of a shock to know how much like they prioritize this. I was kind of like taken aback, like, wait, what? I didn't know that this was a thing. I didn't know we were supposed to prioritize this. And so I think a lot of it's new to me. And so I'm like, this is awesome. And so that's why I keep coming back to it. But I mean, they give out like tangible items. And so we get pins that we can put on our gear or our backpacks, whatever, whatever we want to put it on. We get band like bracelet bands or whatever. And so we get lots of different things, tattoos, like the temporary tattoos. And so so we get to kind of see that visually as well, which is really nice. But I just think keeping that aware, realizing, for me personally, I guess I'm just a visual person. So for me, realizing that this is something that's not okay, like, struggling with mental health is not okay, and we shouldn't just allow it to be pushed aside and to be set aside for that. And so, yeah, I think that continuing talking about mental health and especially prioritizing it in this particular month um, just helps break down that stigma of how talking about it and having issues as well.
Exactly. And again, like we touched on earlier, where it's just it keeps kind of that human sense in athletes too, where it's not just like, okay, we have all the success on the field, on the court, whatever, but it doesn't end there. At the end of the day, we're all human. And so we've touched on some really serious topics, and now just to close out the interview, I do have some fun rapid fire questions. So we'll start digging into those. We do have a couple teammates centered ones, so think carefully on this. But my first question is: so if you need somebody to hype you up before a big race, who are you choosing?
Oh gosh, probably Abby Covington.
Okay.
We came in together as freshman year, but she graduated just a year early actually, so she graduated this year. So I'll miss her next year, but she's all the time just so positive, just so ecstatic, ready to race. And so I think that just carries over to me, and we're girls, like I feel like we're not like overly hype all of the time or whatever, but definitely Abby. She'd get me going.
Okay, okay. And so if you had to go on a long road trip to wherever, I don't know, Yosemite or one of those national parks, wherever, long road trip, which teammate would you want to go on the road trip with?
Oh wow, that one's a hard one. My I would also have to say Abby on that. I think we
Okay.
have a lot of the same beliefs and morals, and so we get to kind of open up and get deep. That's a part of that communication. She's one that I go to actually when talking through like mental health differences or, Christianity aspects or something like that. So I would probably choose her as well, just because we get to go and talk through lots of different things.
Yeah, and you'll have so much time to do it too if you're traveling all the
So
way
much
across the
time.
country.
Yeah, that's a road trip for sure.
And then so the last of the teammate center one. So who is the team chef? So if you need somebody to cook you a gourmet meal or the team a gourmet meal, who are you choosing?
Okay, so when we've actually do that. So Abby normally
Okay.
cooks. I'm excited because I'm hoping to take over that role myself. But she's actually been the one to like we host dinners and she'll be like, "Oh, I have some lasagna if you guys want to eat that." And I'm like, "That works." So she is the gourmet chef. She can garlic
Okay.
some bread. She can cut some fruit. So,
There you go. That sure beats the chicken and rice diet that I know a lot of college kids like having these days.
yes, yes.
And then, so we'll wrap it up with this question. But I was wondering, do you have any pre-race superstitions? So I know, like, we had Ryan Lovelace on a few months ago, fellow GSC SAC member and cross country runner. I know he was talking about he had some superstitions. So, what do you have any superstitions?
Okay, so it's actually funny. I'm not actually very like superstitious. Like if I do one thing and I race good, cool. If I don't, but I am very particular. So if you come, like I don't want to talk to anybody because I guess I perform better under pressure, and so I have to get nervous. So even if I'm taking a test, I'm pacing before the test because I have to like work myself up. I have to get all like everything just so like psyched out almost and like all the things, which is crazy. Like my teammates will be like, "Okay, calm down," and I'm like, if I'm calm, seriously, it's not a superstitious because if I'm calm, I don't race well because like it's just in my head. I'm like, okay, I'm chill. Like like it's fine, it's whatever. And so for me, I have to get nervous. I have to get like almost hyped up almost anxious, which I'm not an anxious person, but I almost need to be. And then from there, I have to listen to music as well, just to
Okay.
get me to do well. And so it's not about the songs, it has to be about how I'm feeling. So if I'm feeling not nervous going into it, I need to make myself nervous, and that's what I'm going to listen to. If I'm feeling very nervous, I'm going to listen to something a little bit calmer. So it's I have to like really figure out how I'm feeling and what music I need because I'm like in the
Okay. Okay.
top 0.01% of music listeners on like Spotify or something. I listen to so much music. And so it's like every last lyric is like going to be something that I don't know, it just it is what it is. So I have to like figure out what I need.
All right. So following up to that, though, if you had to choose a good, I know it fluctuates depending on the week or how you're feeling, but if you had like a go-to calm song and a go-to hype song, what are you choosing?
Okay. It is so hard to say. And I feel like track season is when it really gets like my heart is racing. Which is funny because I did like the 100-meter hurdles, especially in high school. Um, so like I'm looking for this like high intensity thing, and like whatever it takes. But if I'm doing oh, there's so many. NF's new song called Hope. I love, love, love
Okay.
that song. That will get me going so fast, so quickly, and I'll just like I won't even know realize how fast I'm going, and I'm not even tired by the end of it. I'm like going into it. But then the a calm song. Probably just like a Christian song of any kind, just to really give me more peace, more than calm, I guess, just more peace about that. But yeah, I guess whatever it takes and then hope would be my two like go-to. But it always
Okay.
changes, honestly.
Okay, see, when you said calm songs, I thought you were gonna start like rattling off like Bach and Beethoven and like that kind of stuff. So I was
I
much
love
different than what I was expecting.
classical. I love classical. Like I have a favorite classical music. Like I am so yes, but definitely like some kind of I think calm, I think peace, and so Christian music would kind of get me in that mindset.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Well, Emma, thank you so much for coming on today. I know this whole interview can't do the mental health discussion justice, but I feel enlightened. I feel like my perspective has changed a little bit on certain topics, and it's been great just getting to hear your perspective on it because you're so involved in so many different things, and mental health impacts everybody. So, just wanted to say thank you for coming on, and good luck this upcoming season and rest of the off season, and thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad and honored to be here.
I hope you all enjoyed our interview today. Remember to like, share, and subscribe wherever content can be found. Stay tuned for what we have in store next time on Inside the GSC.